review, we're going to do the collar grab, and you've got a treat, and you've got your dog, and you scratch their neck, and you give them the treat. If you can get it simultaneously, that's great. Good girl. I scratch the neck because that is kind of an imitation of what you're going to be doing. If your dog gets loose and finally comes over to you and you're trying to get it, you're going to be grabbing around. So if you've never done that before, your dog is going to freak out and it's probably going to dash and run away. So we want this to be very familiar with the dog. And I'm leaning forward more than I would normally. I like them to be right in here, right in close. Now, with little dogs, especially, when you lean over, they'll stop out here. So if you're trying to get your dog to come and you reach out, it's finally coming like this, it's gonna stop out here. Your hands are gonna be coming towards it, and it's probably gonna take off. So I like to have the dog in really close and do like that. Oh, good girl. If your dog is a little bit nippy, you don't want to be wrestling around and doing all that kind of stuff. It's going to be too much for it, and they're going to start grabbing at your hands. And you don't want to develop any bad habits. So just go by wherever your dog is at. So get the dog in close, scratch its neck. Good girl. Okay. And that will come in when we start doing recalls. You'll see that again. All right, your loose leash walking. So hopefully you've been able to work with the dog on loose leash walking, and you've gotten a little bit more comfortable having the leash in this hand and the treat in your walking side to lure the dog along, and that acts as a magnet. So you're going to move the dog into heel position. Have here, take a step, good girl. Take 2 steps, good girl. Now I'm going to add a turn. It's not on your homework, but I ran out of room here. So I'm going to turn, good. I'm going to turn again. I'm going to take 3 steps, good girl. Now notice I'm turning away from the dog because that's a lot easier for them than if you turn into the dog. Good girl. Good. If your dog should happen to start pulling, you're going to take, notice I'm not, good girl. Take steps back, bring her back into heel position. That backing up will bring the dog back to you. Notice I didn't stretch my arms out. I know. So again, the dog runs up ahead. If you keep your hands tucked in, that's a power position. You then back up. Yes. Good girl. Move her back into heel position. If your back can handle it, it's fine for you to hold the leash in this hand. It's not good when you're out in public to slip the leash over your wrist like that, because then you can actually go flying through the air. Seen it done. My friend got hurt. She hurt for probably a year or so afterwards when her very large dog took off and she actually flew through the air. So looping it around your wrist like that in public is not good. You would not have this one working in public because it's got this, and you can't easily loop it over your thumb like that. The thumb is very strong, so holding the leash, when I'm walking, I'm usually holding the leash over my thumb there, this, like that. And that's very strong. It's very hard for the dog to get loose. I'm not holding my hand like that because then the leash can pull right through my fingers. I'm holding my hand like that. So it's pulling against the back of my hand. So I've got that. And I've got this one looped just in case. So you're out walking, your dog starts pulling, you back up, good. Bring her back into position like that. And if it works better for you to have the food in this hand, that's fine. You can have the food in the other hand. I vary depending on how my back is. So it works usually better in class and in a training situation to have the food on the side with the dog, because then you have the dog, here Jamie, you have the dog's nose right where you want it. If you have it over here, your dog is going to be walking out there. If you have it over here and you're constantly feeding the dog from this side, then they have a tendency to cross over. They know where the food comes from and they're going to try and get it. And then you trip over your dog. Yes, that's happened. So having the food on this hand and walking along like that works really great. Dog pulls, back up, bring her back into position. Good. Good girl. All right. What a girl. Here. Come here. Come on, come on, come on. Good. And then give her a good reward. Good girl. All right. Handling. You want to be able to handle your dog, as we mentioned before. So you can start off slow. You want to put enough pressure on there that you can see the dog's coat moving, or their skin moving. You don't want to mash them or anything like that, but you want to put a little bit of pressure on. And that's because if a dog that is a very timid dog or a low-ranking dog in some circles, if you touch them very lightly, that's indicating that you're a lower position, that you're more timid. And if you have a very pushy, annoying dog, a teenager dog, they're going to notice that and they're going to take advantage. So I like to pet them enough that the hair moves, the coat moves like that. And because your vet is going to handle them and your groomer is going to handle them, they're on a purpose. They have a purpose. They're on a mission. So they're going to be handling them. They're not going to be handling them very gently and all that. They're going to be handling them and doing stuff with them. So that's what I like to get the dog used to doing. So you can have a treat in the hand and you can be feeding it. I wouldn't use a real high value treat because your dog is going to get more excited. And but have something like it's daily food or something like that if you need to, and handle the dog like that. And get it used to being handled. And as it's eating, you can be handling. And every once in a while, give it a little bit of that food. There. Uh-oh, she's got a tick or a scratch there. Anyways, good time to examine your dog. So you can do it a little bit at a time. Once your dog is comfortable with that, pat them a little bit. Good girl. Yeah, girl. All right. Now some dogs you can't do it for very long. She's used to it. And handling her face, her ears. You can also do it when you're laying down. If you, like a lot of people, you'll trim the dog's nails. Here, Jamie. You'll trim the dog's nails when they're laying down. Here, Jamie, lay down. Good girl. All right. So you get them there, and you're just handling them. Good girl. Slowly, and I've got some treats here and handling. Good. Every once in a while, she's getting a little piece of it. And when you're practicing this, at first, you don't want to have other dogs around and things like that. If you're watching TV, you can sit down on the floor and pet your dog while you're watching TV or something like that. Good. You gonna turn over? Here, Jamie. Good girl. Good. And I wouldn't have them this far out, but for right now it'll work. Good. Okay. So, go ahead and practice those things, and you can contact us, either your instructor or myself, if you have any questions.